this television station really has given me just an incredible opportunity to do so many things, and I just went for it all the time. And it's just been an incredibly lucky town for me to be with you for as long as we have been together, and I really loved it.
No, Jimmy, we were the lucky ones. We really were. We want to share with you some of our memories and pictures of Jimmy. I'm going to get through this one way or another. In 1985, when Jimmy was hired, I was a student at Bowling Green, and I was home on a weekend, and I turned on Channel 3, and I watched, and I couldn't blink because I saw what I thought to be was the best local sportscaster I had ever seen. I was going to school to learn how to do what Jimmy was doing. I set up my parents' VCR so it would record the sportscast every night from 6:15 to 6:30 and 11:15 to 11:30, and when those tapes were full, my parents would send them to me at Bowling Green, and I watched like a student as the master put on a show every single night. And I said, one day I'm going to do that. And I did. And the first time I ever met Jimmy was January 1st, 1997, on the sidelines of the Arizona State-Ohio State Rose Bowl in Pasadena. And like Jimmy, I said, I'm going to go for it. And I went up to him and I introduced myself to him. I was working as a sportscaster in Columbus at the time. We'd never met. And he was so gracious and so kind. And we stood next to each other for the entire Rose Bowl as Jake Plummer had a go-ahead drive, and then in the last minute, Joe Germain led the Buckeyes to victory, and Jimmy and I just kept looking at each other like, what are we watching? To this day, that's still one of the greatest football games I've ever seen. And then 10 years later, I was launching my career at ESPN. It was 21 years ago today. LeBron James was getting ready to play his NBA debut. And the whole staff of Cold Pizza knew that I was from Cleveland, and they said, who do we get on? And I said, got to get on Jimmy. So I called, and Jimmy was so gracious. I said, it's going to be tough because it's a West Coast game, and he's going to be up till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and our show started at 7 a.m. And I didn't know if he would be willing to come into the Channel 3 studios to do a satellite shot with the national audience on Cold Pizza. And he did, and he couldn't have been more gracious. And then 6 years later, in what I consider the honor of my career, I had a chance to become Jimmy's coworker and friend. And I learned just as much from him watching him live in person in studio as I did all those years watching his tape. And as Jimmy said after the Browns beat Pittsburgh to clinch their playoff spot after such a long drought, he was celebrating on the radio, and he said, the only thing missing is you, because it was a COVID game and there were no fans in the stands. And now we can say the only thing missing, Jimmy, is you.
That is so true. And you know, the consummate professional part is what a lot of people don't know. We got to see every day the incredible job that he did. You know, we always have words in front of us on the prompter, news anchors and sports people. Jimmy never had words. Matter of fact, he'd have you turn up monitors off. He didn't want to see the words. Everything that came out of his mouth in a sportscast, football game, whatever, it was just Jimmy. And that was the gift that he gave to all of us. And the other incredible thing is even if he didn't like someone, whether he was sitting next to them, interviewing them, doing stories about them, if he didn't like them, you never knew that. He was just absolutely the consummate professional. And I wrote down a few words that remind me of Jimmy. Now, that's the video that you just saw, and in the background, you heard hysterical laughing, which was me hysterically laughing, because that was one of my favorite moments ever. We had Irish dancer in for St. Patrick's Day, and he was so excited to try an Irish jig. But, you know, we all knew him for his words and his voice. And a few of the things I wrote down, his Boston accent, we would always make fun of him for he'd slip into the brogue every now and then, the old Boston accent, and it was always something with his mom. Mother of God, Jimmy, he would say. And he would always slip into that. Of course, Sarah Shookman's wedding, we were all there. That was such a beautiful day. Lena Lai, Lena Lai, Lena Lai. He loved to say Lena's name. And actually, interestingly enough, I got an email from Irene Herguy today reminding me of that. So thank you, Irene. But Dunkin' Donuts will miss Jimmy.
Yeah, they will.
Eyeglass manufacturers will miss Jimmy because he was always misplacing his eyeglasses. And boy, you know, just the smiles that we all had and the joy that he brought to our everyday.
One other thing that I would love to mention,
Yeah.
Jimmy was known here for eating goldfish
Yeah.
and drinking ginger ale. And when I came to work today, I went back into the toy box,
Yep.
Jimmy's old. I used to love to watch him hold court back there.
Everybody
and
listened.
everybody would laugh. And Yak, our unbelievably talented sports director, producer, glue, gave me a bag of goldfish and a can of ginger ale.
We have our popcorn machine right outside, and Jimmy never came and got buckets of popcorn, but he'd always stop and take one or two and then keep on walking. They'd come back, he'd take some more. So we all have so many great memories of Jimmy. He was really part of the fabric of our station here for sure.
And I love the way the Browns honored him.
Yeah.
It was so classy,
And the fans.
so typical Kevin Stefanski.
It's just been incredible how everybody has memories with Jimmy. So thank you all for sharing them, certainly.
And there are more memories to share. Here at WKYC, we're dedicating our entire 7 o'clock newscast, Jimmy's old time slot, to our friend Jim Donovan. We'll honor his career. We'll look back on the amazing accomplishments and reflect with laughter and tears, I'm sure, in an hour-long special. It airs tonight right here on WKYC at 7 o'clock.